Hello everyone and welcome to the first video in this new project or new module. The purpose of this module is to develop an application to manage contact. I'll call it the address book application. The reason I chose address book is it's very familiar to all of you. You've used address books on your phone for probably many years, so you have a good idea of the business logic and the requirements of an app like that. Yet the address book problem gives us the ability to explore more features and more libraries and more user interface challenges, model challenges, control challenges with respect to app development. So this is an exciting and rich module with reinforcement of new things reinforcement of the things we worked on in the previous modules, as well as introduction to some new exciting features. So the initial problem statement is to develop an app to manage your contact. While I'm doing this to manage your contact, the concepts can be done to manage a list of anything, list of tasks, list of appointments, list of books, list of CDs, pictures, anything that you want to manage that is a collection. The concepts we learn here will apply directly. So once we take a problem statement, an idea, and decide that we're going to invest in a project with a problem statement like this, we move on to the app development process. And the app development process is a guide to us to walk us through the steps that lead us from this initial vague statement until we get a product at the end. So the app development process is three steps: problem formulation, solution formulation, and solution implementation. In the problem formulation, we do three activities: research the problem. If you don't understand what an address book or managing address book means, you spend some time understanding the problem. Researching similar apps on the App Store to see what's out there in the market. And then you define the scope, what exactly you will do, very specific feature list or requirement list of what your app will do, and then finally how you will test the app when it is completed. It's very important as you specify the scope of your app that at the same time you specify how you will test it. Otherwise, testing can be forgotten and lost later on. Then you move to the solution formulation, and here again are three activities. The first activity is the model, and the second is the view and the controller. The model is related to the data, what data the app need, whether needs as input or produces as output, or need in the process of converting the input to the output, and how to represent this data in the app. The app lives in memory in the memory of the device, so we need to think about what we call data types, which is the space in memory that your data will occupy, and the features that the data type can have with your data. So we have some primitive data types. We have library data types that are built in with the iOS platform, and we have the ability to create custom data types, which what we will do in this module. Then the view is related to the interface, what the user will see, and in particular the view is expressed in terms of components. So what components we will use in order to communicate with the user, as well as capture the user interaction with the app. And then finally, the controller. The controller is the brain of the app. It's the go-between the view and the model. It's the logic, the thinking process from what the user sees and interact with, and actions and events that the app generates or the user generate, and the model that has the data for the app. And that's where the controller, that's where most of the programming goes, as we learned in the past. Finally, the solution implementation, and that's the planning, the project management phase, where we define the steps that will take us to implement the solution. And in the beginning, we build an iteration plan, dividing the scope into smaller tasks or iterations, and we tackle each iteration independently. So let's apply this as at the first problem. So the research, you go ahead. I'm not going to spend time here. I did that in earlier modules. So you can also open the address book on your phone and learn about what the address book can do. Then we define the scope. Because of the limited time here, I'm going to define very specific scope, maintain a list of contacts, add a new contact, and view the details of a contact. So you'll see a list that has maybe partial information about a contact. Then you need to be able to see the full details of the contact, and you need to be able to add a new contact to that list. So how would you test that? Based on this scope, we can create multiple testing scenarios. First, we want to test the list. So when the app loads, we should see a list with the information that we want to display. We should be able to view details of a contact by clicking an item or whatever action we decide to do. And we should be able to add a contact and see that the contact is added to our list. So how do we formulate the solution? We start with the model, what data the app will need and how to represent it, what type. So the data is generally the nouns that you see in the scope. So in the scope we have list of contacts and we have a contact. And the list of contacts is a collection. So in the past we used NS array to manage a collection. We also used in module 3 the NS dictionary to manage contact. Here I'm introducing a third library type to manage contacts called NS mutable array. And the difference between this is similar to the NS array, except that the size of the mutable array changes dynamically. The NS array has a fixed size when you create it. The NS mutable array, the size changes. Then we have this contact, and we do not have in the library a type called contact. But what is a contact? A contact is made out of other data. So a contact is an aggregate of data. And so a contact, if you look in your phone, you'll see something like first name, last name, company, picture, several types of phone numbers, email, several types of email addresses. You'll see addresses, street address, city, state. You may find even date of birth and a lot of other information that describe what a contact is. So to represent a contact, you ask yourself, should we just use those items that represent the contact, like the first name, the last name, the email, the address, and so on and so forth? Or is there a way we can assemble all of these elements and encapsulate them into one concept that is called the contact? So here in this project, we will learn that how we can take a lot of pieces of data and encapsulate them in a custom type and name that custom type a contact, and then use it and deal with it the same way we dealt with float, int, strings, and the other library types that we have been using in these modules. So we're going to create a contact as a custom type, and we will use inside it these three elements, and I only chose 3 here so that we have enough to show details, but also I'm not spending a lot of time just mechanically adding more attributes. You can, and I advise you to add to those in building your own app, but for the time's sake, I'll just stick to those 3 items. I introduced here the NS mutable array, so I advise you to look at the API documentation to learn about the NS mutable array and the different tasks that are involved in. Then we go to the view, what the user will see and what to interact with, sketch a view for the app, and we use a tool like MyBalsamic to create a mockup for the app. We have here, I'm going to create 3 screens. The first screen will display the list of contacts. Then I will have another screen that displays the details of the contact, and a third screen where we can add a new contact. And then there will be navigation between the 3 screens. I'm also introducing here a new type called the UI Tableview Controller. The UI Tableview Controller is a library type. Um, I'm trying to make this bold here. It's a library type that gives you a different type of a screen. The screens we have been using so far is called a view controller, and the view controller is a screen with a view. The view is a rectangle area that can hold other components. The table view is a type of view, but instead of being a blank rectangle area, it's an area that has a table inside it. So we'll learn how we can use the table view to show both a list, a dynamic list, as well as a static list of information. So we will be using the table view controller for all the screens in this project. In the controller, what the controller is, the brain is the thinking, what the app should do, when the app should do it. In the controller, it's very important to identify the events, the timing of the events, the timing of the actions, as well as the steps inside each one of those actions. So in the controller, we have the class that represent the controller, and inside it we have the functions that represent the different actions or behaviors or tasks. Then depending on the timing, there are some built-in timing, like the view did load, which is built in. Every time the view loads, the view did load function is notified, so that's a built-in event, as well as the event or the actions that we connect based on a user interaction or based on a timer. Like in project 4, we used a timer to generate an event. Um, so we can use all of those. In this, we've used the classes as a controller in the past. Here we're going to be using classes to represent a data model. So we'll use a class contact to encapsulate a single contact. Then we can also use class contact data source to represent the collection of contacts and all the operations that are managed on those in that collections. So we have 3 screens with 3 controls: the contact list screen, the contact detail screen, the add new contact screen, and we also have 2 classes that represent the model. So this is new in this project. In the previous project, we only dealt with classes that represent the controller of the view. Here, we're going to deal with classes that represent the data, the type of the data, which in the past we've been getting this from the library. Here, we're going to make our own for the first time. In the solution implementation, we divide the project into iterations. So here is my division. As I mentioned before, these can vary. So each one of you, depending on your background, experience, and the scope that you assign, you may put a shorter list of iterations or longer. It doesn't matter. The path you take to produce the app does not matter. The most important thing is that you start from where you are and you follow a process systematically until you reach the point that you want, which is having the prototype of the app that you need. So here the iteration plan. First, we are in iteration 1, which we are in right now in the planning, and I'm doing that in this video. Then I'm gonna do another video for the project setup. Then iteration 2 to focus on displaying the list of contacts. Iteration 3 where we're gonna add a new contact to the list. And iteration 4 we're gonna display the details of a contact. Iteration 5 and 6 are extra credit or optional, where we're gonna do manage contacts, deleting and reordering of the list. And the extra credit, the second one, iteration 6, we're gonna save to a file. So that's it. That's the our project for this module, and this is concludes our iteration number 1. Thank you.